breaking news after the U.S. warned all day of a full-scale Russian invasion of Ukraine, that it was imminent. Vladimir Putin has just addressed the Russian people.
The Russian President Vladimir Putin has launched a major military operation against Ukraine.
Of course, as war unfolds in Ukraine this morning, explosions and sirens heard in and around Kyiv overnight.
My name is Mr. Caravano.
Shannon Sobia.
James Becker.
I teach world history, 9th grade primarily.
I'm a history teacher at Pinelands, and I teach U.S. history and advanced placement European history.
Surveys of law, sociology, and world studies.
I've been thinking about that question since it started. It's a tricky question. If we were to get involved, I think it could escalate situations if we were to get involved by sending troops. We also have I don't want to say reason, but we do not have a obligation there. The Ukraine is not part of NATO. If it had been part of NATO, it would have been a no-brainer. We would have absolutely have gotten involved. And if Russia does make a mistake and get too far into any NATO country, that would have to pull us in on a military level. But to ignore what's going on, we can't do that. And I think that's why, as you've seen in the news, our country is aiding. We are not the only country doing this, but countries like the United States and other European countries, we can't allow situations like this to happen and to get out of control. They were a vulnerable country who has been invaded by an aggressor nation. This is a situation we fought against during World War II. And to allow it to happen again, it can't happen. We have to get involved in some way. At this point, financially and by aiding with military weapons, I think is appropriate. But to send in troops, that gets a little tricky.
We're already furthering ourselves into this, involving ourselves into this. Anytime that you give a country aid, we are we're going to be giving them Patriot missiles to try and, hold off the invasion, hopefully stopping the Russians, but again, too, like I said, at the end of the day, we are, it's not inevitable, it's, we are already giving aid to the Ukraine.
So right now we are sending a huge amount of humanitarian aid. We are sending a huge amount of military equipment, billions of dollars worth. And that is essentially sustaining Ukraine. Do I see us getting more involved? The only way I think we could get more involved would be boots on the ground, and I just don't think that that is going to happen at this point. Why? Because that would then essentially raise Article 5 of the NATO Charter, which basically says an attack on one is an attack on all nations that are connected to NATO. So if we send anything else beyond the military equipment, the humanitarian aid, we actually send troops and our troops are shot at, we would be required to defend our troops, and at that point we would be bringing all of these other nations into the conflict, and essentially I think you would be in a World War III situation or scenario. So beyond humanitarian aid, beyond military aid, no, I don't think that that is going to happen.